Ambassador Kelvin stood motionless in the observation deck of the Galactic Council station, his reflection ghostly against the viewport. Behind him, the council chambers erupted in chaos. Diplomats from 47 species shouted over one another, their translation devices creating a cacophony of overlapping languages. But Kelvin heard none of it. His eyes remained fixed on the evidence displayed across the holographic screens. Children, human children, hundreds of them, shackled in the cargo holds of Zarathian vessels. The footage had been transmitted anonymously 3 hours ago, intercepted from a Zarathian military convoy near the Outer Rim. The images were unmistakable. Boys and girls, some no older than 6, their faces hollow with fear and malnutrition, branded with identification codes on their forearms. The Zarathian Empire had been taking them from isolated human colonies for months, using them as labor in their zero-gravity manufacturing facilities. "The Council demands an explanation," roared Ambassador Kelvin finally, turning to face the Zarathian delegation. His voice cut through the noise like a blade through flesh. High Prelate Zarthan, a towering reptilian figure draped in ceremonial armor, raised one clawed hand dismissively. "These are subjects from unclaimed territories. The children were acquired through legal salvage operations. Your species had abandoned those colonies." "Abandoned?" Kelvin's laugh was cold and humorless. "We had 40,000 colonists on Kepler 442b. Men, women, and children building a new home. Your forces glassed the settlement from orbit and took the survivors. You have no proof of—" "I have testimony from 200 witnesses," Kelvin interrupted, his jaw clenched so tight it ached. "I have DNA evidence. I have the names of every single child in those cargo holds. And I have something else, Prelate." He tapped his communicator. "Show them." The holographic displays shifted. Now they showed something different. The Sol system. And surrounding it like an iron noose tightening around prey was the entire United Earth fleet. Every warship humanity had built in the 2 centuries since making contact with the galaxy. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and cruisers. 3,000 vessels, their weapons hot, their crews waiting. The council chamber fell silent. "The Terran Federation has operated under your laws for 93 years, Kelvin said quietly, his words measured and deliberate. "We joined your trade networks. We attended your councils. We followed your regulations even when they disadvantaged us. We did this because we believed in a civilized galaxy." He walked slowly toward the Zarathian delegation, each footstep echoing in the sudden stillness. "But you took our children. You enslaved them. You branded them like cattle." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper, yet somehow everyone heard every word. "And now you're going to give them back." Zarthan's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. "Or what, human? You'll declare war on the Empire? We command 1,700 systems. We have fleets that dwarf your entire civilization. You would be crushed within weeks." "Maybe," Kelvin acknowledged. "Probably even. But here's what you don't understand about humans, Prelate. We don't just fight to win. We fight because we can't do anything else." He gestured to the display showing the fleet. "Those ships, every single one is crewed by volunteers. Engineers, merchants, teachers, farmers. People who set aside their lives the moment they saw those images. They're not professional soldiers, most of them. They're parents. And they're not fighting for territory or resources or glory." Kelvin's eyes locked with Zarthan's. "They're fighting for their children. And there is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than a human parent protecting their young." The Zarathian prelate's confidence wavered, just slightly. Around the chamber, other delegations shifted uncomfortably. The Vex Commonwealth, the Trill Concordat, the Ashani Collective, species that had fought wars, built empires, traded across the stars for millennia. They all recognized the look in Kelvin's eyes. It was the look of someone who had already accepted death. "The Council will not support your war," Zarthan said, though his voice carried less certainty now. "You would stand alone." "Then we stand alone." Kelvin pulled a data chip from his pocket and placed it on the council table. "That contains the locations of every Zarathian military installation within 50 light-years of human space. Also on that chip are the communication codes for your military command structure, the technical specifications of your shield generators, and the patrol schedules for your border fleets." He smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "We've been preparing for this conversation for 3 months. Ever since the first child disappeared, Zarthan's scales had lost their color. This is an act of war. No, Kelvin corrected. Taking our children was an act of war. This is just us informing you of the consequences. He walked toward the exit, then paused at the doorway. You have 72 hours to return every human child in your custody to neutral space, unharmed. If even one child is missing, if even one has been injured beyond what they've already suffered, the fleet moves. You're bluffing, Zar then said, but there was no conviction in the words. Kelvin looked back one final time. Humans don't bluff when it comes to our children. Ask the Crover Horde what happened when they raided Earth's colonial transports 40 years ago. Oh, wait, you can't. There is no Crovar Horde anymore. The door sealed behind him with a hydraulic hiss. In the council chamber, silence reigned for a long moment. Then, slowly, other delegations began to speak. The Trill ambassador leaned toward Zarthan. Perhaps you should consider their terms. They're one species, the prelate hissed. One small insignificant. They're the species that went from atmospheric flight to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years. The Trill interrupted. The species that colonized 40 worlds with technology we would have considered primitive. The species that, when asked to submit their military capabilities for the galactic census, accidentally forgot to mention half their fleet. The prelate looked at the display showing the human armada. It had grown in the last 10 minutes. More ships emerging from slip space, taking positions around the Sol system. They'll take casualties, Zarthan said weakly. Yes, agreed the Vex ambassador, her crystalline form refracting the light from the displays. But they won't stop. That's what makes them terrifying. We fight until victory becomes impossible. They fight until nothing remains to fight with. 71 hours later, every human child was returned to neutral space. The Zarathian Empire formally apologized and paid reparations. They signed treaties limiting their expansion and opened their facilities to inspection. And the human fleet, having never fired a single shot, returned home. But the galaxy had learned something that day. Something that would be whispered in trading posts and diplomatic circles for generations to come. Humanity could be reasoned with. They could be negotiated with. They could even be befriended. But their children were not to be touched, ever.